right, everybody, and welcome back to the RoMuscle Money Stop podcast once again. Um, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, congratulations, CSB, on winning the RoMuscle 500.
Thank you, thank
We have the trophy here in between us. Um, what a race, right? That was something. um,
you. Yeah,
that was
I don't even know like what really to make of it. Um, it's definitely one of the crazier races that I've been a part of. Um, and last season I wasn't at this race, so you know, and it's a very new track, well, a new version of the track. So, uh, yeah, it was an interesting race. I will say that there was a lot of parts of it, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I won too, so it's like I enjoyed it 100 times more.
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think overall it was a good event. Um, there were some issues that we'll get into that kind of spoiled the event, but I feel like towards the end of the event, the lag kind of went away, at least for me, and it seems like for a lot of other people. And I feel like things got better. The racing was crazy all night, and it makes me wonder what this would be like without any lag. Like at this track, it would be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. I think honestly, like we made 10 cars work, which was pretty impressive. And the 10 cars stayed until the end, so nobody left, which was pretty remarkable too. Usually you might get one or two that flake out towards the end, but everybody stayed. So, you know, everybody was in it right from the beginning to the end. And I think that that goes to show the dedication of those 10 drivers. And obviously the lag was not favorable for mostly everybody tonight, but I'm glad that at least mostly everybody still figured it out. I know for me at some points it was like it was good, and then at some points it was like really bad. Like the end was really bad for me, but I know that we still made it work no matter what. So yeah, just props to everybody for powering through it. It definitely was a one of the harder races to get through in terms of lag, but we made it through without having to switch tracks, and that's just something to be pretty proud of, I guess. But yeah, that's all I had to add on that.
Yeah, and I will give props to Craigus for sticking to it and not switching tracks. Um, like I don't behind closed doors there were discussions of switching to the older Daytona model during the race when things got bad, but we stuck to it and we made it work, and it's really remarkable. And I will say, racing with 10 cars is um it's a lot, like it's so much more fun because you're actually like you're passing cars, and even if you're not, like with 8 cars, if you're not in the top 3, like you're not really having that much fun. But
Right.
with 10 cars, like running 5th place, like it's fun, like getting a top 5 feels like an accomplishment. So I had a lot of fun out there, and I really do hope that we can keep doing 10 cars moving forward. And I guess now would be a good time for me to kind of make this announcement. But obviously, the lag issues tonight should not be blamed on Craigus or anybody within the league management. That is totally on me and Icy, as we are the ones that created the game. And I do want to note that we have a very big lag update coming soon. We almost had it done in time for the race tonight, but we didn't have enough time, unfortunately. But we are hopeful that it will be in time for the race next week at Atlanta. And this update should really like make a huge difference. And racing with 10 cars should be no problem. You could maybe even get 11 or 12. So I feel like 10 cars we could comfortably do, and we are very hopeful that it'll be done in time for next week. So you guys can all look forward to that. And once again, like we sincerely do apologize, and no blame should be put on Craigus for this. If anything, you can blame me and Icy. It's our game, and it's not his fault at all. That's just the cards he was dealt. So hopefully things will be smoother moving forward. But I don't even know where we should go from here. Um,
I want to add one more thing too. The performance of the game between last night and tonight um definitely was interesting. I don't really know if that's anybody's fault either, just because we didn't really know that it was going to perform like that once we got back into the game. But there may be ways to um there may be ways to look at like how to prevent that in the future, just by like either testing beforehand or just running a couple tests before the race starts, like the day of, or like not having as much stuff at the track, in terms of like decorations and stuff, and extra stuff that we like really don't need. um it's just like stuff like that, that you could always think about. um but I don't think that there was any way of like foreseeing how it was going to play out tonight. It sucks that it played out the way that it did, because it caught us all by surprise, and it was pretty upsetting when we had to kind of shuffle things out and figure out how we were going to proceed past that point. But um once we got going, we made it work. um but yeah, that's all I wanted to add on that topic. I think that topic is either pretty self-explanatory, or just I would leave that more up to you guys. But
yeah, and I think testing is definitely something that we should be doing because the dual race last night was the first time we had 10 cars on track at that date specific Daytona model. And obviously, it's going to change from track to track because some tracks have more parts than others. And I mean, it's constantly going to change depending on where we go. But whenever we did the dual race last night, we knew that vision lag was an issue. Like we saw that. Um, but by then it was really too late for us to make any noticeable changes.
hmm.
I mean, at that point, we were less than 24. Well, maybe we were like 24 hours away from the race. So it's like you don't really have any wiggle room.
Yeah,
I feel like,
once you're in that 24-hour window, it's kind of hard.
yeah, you're kind of set with what you have. So I feel like in the future, I mean, obviously, this lag update should help a lot, but I feel like we should be doing 10 card test, maybe at every track we go to, especially with the field being at 10 cars now. Like, I would say sometime this week, we should probably have a 10 car test at Atlanta and see how that goes. Um, and just continue to do that. And not only for the lag, but like just to see how the racing is going to go with that many cars. Because
Yeah.
some tracks, 8 cars is fine, but like who knows like what Richmond's going to be like if we throw 10 cars out there, or I don't know, like Coda or North Wilkesboro or just whatever. Like
That's if even like
it
10 cars are planning on being there next weekend, you
yeah,
know?
that's true. Yeah.
We don't even know like
Yeah, I'm
who can make it yet.
yeah, and I feel like we always have good attendance for the first race and it kind of goes downhill from there. So
Yeah.
we'll just, I mean, that's part of the season being so long. You'll have to see who stays committed, who shows up and who doesn't. That's part of the grind, I guess.
Hmm. I want to talk about the
Um,
race a little bit more though, because I was making like mental notes during the race, and I wanted to just point out like, and I know this wasn't any fault of Roman's, but the officiating was horrendous tonight. Um, I don't know what happened or like if Roman agreed to officiate. I think he offered, but um
yeah,
there was just some moments during the race where I was just like really frustrated. And I was already running at the back, so it was like, you know, it was really frustrating on my end. Like why are we opening pit road when there's two or three cars at the other side of the track that are on the lead lap, you know? Um and I will call out Kragus too because Kragus has done that in the past. He has done that like he has done that at multiple races last season. Um and it's really frustrating, but it kept happening. Um
yeah,
and I don't know if it happened multiple times tonight. I think it only happened that one time, um and then that was it. But it's unfair how not the whole field is caught up and you're opening pit road um for people to come down and do pit stops and not everybody's caught up. You know what I mean? Like it just guarantees that you're coming in and going out in the same position. You're not competing for any positions. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, the races are over, but
yeah. I will say, I guess, kind of in defense of Roman, that it was really last second. I mean, he didn't prepare to officiate tonight. He kind of just offered to do it,
yeah,
and obviously,
which I
it's
figured, but I
yeah,
won't put that all on him. But you know,
yeah,
if there's a problem there, then he needs to be told, like, you know, he can't be doing that. But it didn't really seem like, you know, anybody was enforcing that. So
yeah. And I think, I mean, Roman has potential to be a good official if that's something that he's interested in doing. I think maybe we just kind of need to update him on some of the rules and procedures, and because overall, I mean, he did a decent job calling the cautions. There were a few times I feel like they might have been delayed, like 2 or 3 seconds. I got in a few wrecks tonight that the caution wasn't called for like 5 seconds after, and by then I've already had like three more cars past me, so that's like 3 spots I lost just because the caution was called late.
well, I felt
Um,
bad for Icy
so
because he was stuck in the catch fence. I had to call the caution, you know?
oh, that was one. I was like, bro, that's a
And they were
caution.
about to
Like,
take the white too. He was going to be stuck there. So, like
yeah.
I couldn't just leave him there, you know? I felt bad.
So, like, if he gets better at calling the cautions quicker and just some of the rules, like he could be a solid official. We've definitely had worse before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's just a few things that he kind of needs to pick up on. And I will say it's better to have an official watching from the sky rather than on the track. So I feel like what Roman was doing is still probably, no offense to Craigus, it's probably better than what would have happened. And I'm not saying that as a knock to Craigus. I'm just saying, like, obviously Roman's going to see more stuff than Craigus will driving on the track.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a
I mean,
given. You know, when you're driving it's different because you're focused forward and seeing behind at the same time is hard.
yeah,
So, had Kragus officiated and drove just like anybody else, it would have been very, very difficult. So I applaud Roman for actually officiating. But
yeah, and hopefully he shows up every week. I mean, that would really be a huge thing for the league, in my opinion. That's kind of one thing that we have been missing, um, is a dedicated official each week.
yeah,
Well, I guess we can kind of talk about the race, like in a broader sense, like I don't know, like just some of the stuff that happened tonight. I don't really want to like get into our race review yet, but like I don't like what did you think about like the racing and like the aggressiveness and the wrecks and all like what is your like overlook on just everything from that perspective?
Um, I will say at least for me, it was really hard to wrap my head around the racing tonight. Because I so badly wanted to like either start a second line or just like be able to stay in the bottom line, like not feel like I have to move or, not get scared about getting pushed out of line. But it felt like every lap, every corner, there was always somebody else taking the lead, which was, I liked it. There was more like it was more of a refreshing thing. But it seemed like the reason for all the cautions was because the runs were so huge to the point where we were just pushing people out of the way and it was causing crashes. Um, and I don't know why the runs were so huge. Like we were all going way over 210, maybe 220, 230 at some point,
Mhm.
too. But the runs were ginormous. And I don't know if I've ever seen racing like that before, where it's consistently been like that. I know like at Talladega at some points it'll get like that, but it'll come back down to a point where it gets more to a comfortable standpoint. But Daytona, it was like every couple seconds, once you got into like a 4 or 5 car tandem, God, it was like you had to hold on. I remember some point too where I wasn't even accelerating and I was still like maybe going 215, 220 around there. Um
Oh
and
yeah.
I wasn't accelerating or anything. So it just like, and it's hard to pull out a line too, but I will
Well,
say overall that I enjoyed it. It scared me a little bit just because it kept you on the edge of your seat. You didn't know what was going to happen. But it was also like you made one wrong move and you were compromised. To the back you go. You know?
yeah, and that's an good that you said that because at this track, you literally did like we did not need to be pushing in the corners. At the beginning of the race, I was not locked to the person ahead of me, and I was still staying in my position in the draft because it was so strong at like this version of Daytona that you really did not need to be bump drafting in order to keep your position. And I feel like at least early in the stages and maybe earlier, like later in the race, that we did not need to be pushing each other in the corners. Like we all should have just laid off and kind of, like you can, I don't know. It was really interesting because you really didn't need to be pushing in order to keep your position. And I feel like people pushing is really what caused us to have so many of these cautions. And another thing about the track that I noticed is that you could really like bump somebody out of the way. Um, because it was kind of like the car would kind of get tight in the corner. So if you push somebody really hard, they would kind of move up the racetrack. And that happened quite a few times tonight, which I don't know, like a lot of people were kind of using that to their advantage, but I don't really know that that's the kind of stuff you want to see at Daytona. Um, So yeah, I don't know. It was really interesting. I don't think we need to be pushing that early in the race. Um, I feel like if we as a whole league can kind of learn when to lay off and when to go, then we might not have so many cautions and the racing might be a lot more enjoyable from in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think this is a common problem in this league, though. And it always has been. I don't know why everybody feels the need that they need to be so aggressive so early on. Um, because no matter where you go, you're going to be pack racing. Um, Intermediates, like most of the time, you're going to be pack racing and super speedways, but um, everybody is so aggressive. Like it's the last lap. We race like it's the last lap. And I don't know why that is, but it's also like how the car is built. Um, just the way that you accelerate and you decelerate, you can't really back off of somebody um, when you're creating a run because that only makes the run more powerful when you're on the straights. Like you're gonna fly up to the back of their car, if that makes sense. So it's kind of hard to like stay off of another car when you know that you're gonna be right back up to them. So I don't know if that's like how people think of it, um, or if people just use arco brakes, or if they don't care. But I would say at least like for me, I've definitely learned where my brake pedal is. I don't know if others can say that yet, but I've learned where my brake pedal is and I use it sometimes, but I think others should too because it would be really beneficial.
Yeah, and another thing was like the side draft was really powerful at this track, and if you got side drafted, like there were a few times when me and you had this happen tonight. You were like going like super slow on the backstretch, and I was going full speed, and I would just like ram into your bumper, and then you would go up, and then you would start going full speed. But
Yep.
there were quite a few times that that would happen to a lot of people. If you would get side drafted on the backstretch, you were just done. So I feel like that's kind of a part of the runs being so big, maybe. But I would have never predicted that um, we would be going 230 miles an hour at Daytona. Like that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Oh boy. Um, I got disconnected.
I don't know.
Oopsies.
You've left the studio.
Yeah, for being idle for more than 20 minutes. But whatever. Okay, we back. All good.
Well, well, I guess we kind of just covered the racing. Was there anything that like stood out to you tonight? Like any teams or um drivers, or was there any like I don't know, any moments or any beef or anything like that that kind of
Um, I would say our team definitely made a statement tonight. I'm really, really proud of um, just our whole team. Like the win aside, I think our team did a really good job with working together tonight, all night long. Um, and that obviously attests to what we've been working on and just uh, just really, really a good showing. I think Lego's team as well did really good. BSR did really good too. GFM, I'm a little curious about just because they seemed like they could link up at some points, and then at some points they just seemed like they could not work well together at all. And Krakus was in the back at some points, Land was in the back at some points. Wendigo was up front for most of the night, um, whether he was leading or pushing somebody like in second. But uh, like the team was kind of all over the place tonight. So I am a little curious about that team, and what happened on the final lap there too, um, between Land and Wendigo. Um, Definitely an interesting moment, but yeah, and
um
I think I because I wrote this down too. Um, what's his name? The Spencer Rattle guy, Jack. Yeah.
Jack, yeah.
Um, he did a really good job too because I did write down in my notes to mention him because he did do a good job tonight. And yeah, I would say that I'm definitely proud of him. He did a really good job with staying up there, and he owned up to any mistakes or anything that he made, like any any accidents he was involved in or any accidents he may have caused. He made sure to keep it clean with drivers and um,
Mhm.
yeah. And
I, I sorry, I didn't mean to
I
cut
like
you off.
no, it's just I keep like I want to call him Spencer Rattle, but then I'm like I gotta remember it's Jack at the same time. So
Yeah, I he was almost like too clean at some points because we were on the last lap and I haven't seen a like I have not watched a replay of any of this, but he literally checked up to let me get back in line. Like, dude, it's the last lap. Like at some point, like you got to look out for yourself too. Like I mean, I was like super impressed with him. He showed good speed today. Um, he ran up front. He was good at pushing. I mean, I don't have anything but good things to say about him. Um, I I don't know. Like I didn't see him the whole race, so I don't know if he got into any incidents or anything. But from my perspective, I think he did amazing tonight. And I kind of have a differing opinion because I felt like GFM did really good tonight. Like no matter whenever every time I would get up to the front, I feel like there was always a GFM car leading. Most of the time it was Wendigo. Other times it was Land. I think Craigus had something internal going on with his car. I don't know what happened.
yeah, he
Um,
his
it-
car was not in his favor tonight.
yeah, I guess they were never able to get that fixed up. Um, his pit crew might be having to do some laps around the shop for that, but I mean, the other three GFM cars were really strong, and it seemed like they were always towards the front. But our team was up there too. I feel like there were normally always two GFM cars and at least one or two of our cars up there. And I don't want to forget about Lego because he did really good tonight, considering that he did not have a teammate and he was the lone Chevy out there. Like, dude is all on his own. And considering what he's working with, I really think he did a good job. And I think he could have potentially won this race if, I don't know, like the odds were really stacked against him since he didn't have anyone to work with. So,
Yeah, can we talk about that finish for a second? Because I think that finish is really underlooked. Um, Coming to the white flag, we were 2 by 2 by 2, 3 rows wide, and nobody crashed. Nobody crashed. Like, can we talk about that for a second? On the bottom, hold on, I gotta pull up the live stream really quick. On the
yeah, I
bottom,
gotta pull it up.
I think was Land, and then I don't remember who was pushing him. I can't remember. Um, but I know I was in the middle lane and Icy was pushing me, and then there was two cars to my outside. Um, Let me see really quick, cause I can't stress enough. Like, I don't think we have many moments like that in races like this where we all come out, in one piece. But also, it's like going for a win like that. It was really an incredible moment. Um, so I think that everybody should be proud of themselves on just at least like keeping themselves together tonight, and it really just showed like how well everybody can work with each other kind of in a moment of importance. But um okay.
Okay, and I do want to talk about this because the the leaderboard showed that we still had one lap left at the end of this race. So I'm confused if the laps were set wrong or like what like I'm so confused because I'm just now rewatching this for the first time and I know somebody mentioned it that we still had more laps left, but like I am totally like blown away right now. Like I don't know like what's going on with that.
Well, I think with
This is like live
the
reaction. I don't know.
I
Like, okay, Craig has said they were set wrong, so I think we should have only done 2 laps, and I think we did our 2 laps. So, okay, yeah, so that was technically the last lap because
yeah,
it was an overtime, so, um, I was, like, super confused about that.
I knew that, once we'd gone green, I knew that it was 2 laps to the end and that was it. We were in overtime and whatever laps were after that, if there was no caution, it didn't matter. Um,
Yeah, that's the way I was thinking. I wasn't even looking at the leaderboard. I just know we came around, we there's our first lap, and then we took the white flag, and I wasn't even paying attention to the leaderboard. I was just
yeah, I know that there was a lot of confusion with that, but honestly, there shouldn't have been confusion because if you know how the procedures work, then you should know that it was probably just a mistake and
yeah.
shouldn't be
Yeah, because
overlooking
you
it.
can
But
see in the stream, we take the green flag, we do a lap, we come back around, we take the white flag, and then obviously that's the last lap. So
yeah,
yeah, that is really crazy. We 3 wide. Um, this is kind of like a live reaction to the ending.
yeah.
Just now seeing it. Um,
Well,
it looks
it's
okay.
Land Wendigo in the bottom lane, and then it's myself, Icy, and you in the middle lane. And then for a brief second, it was Aiden and Slater in the top lane. But then Slater moved down, and Aiden was left up there by himself. So things like got shuffled out coming to the line. But then we all got back together
Yeah,
very quickly. But
it's
it was just like
it's
I thought honestly in that moment we were all going to crash. I did not see us making it through. So, and
oh yeah.
like I said before, it was like my vision was so fucked up that I don't even remember honestly. Just like how I got through that and how I cleared those cars because I thought for sure that I was gonna end up getting turned. So yeah,
It's really hard to tell with this vision lag, but I'm rewatching right here when land gets spun out. Um, it looks like I go. Well, I yeah, it's hard because my car just glitched back into his. Obviously, I'm in front of him. I mean, that's such like a. It happened so quick.
yeah,
Um, he did. It looks like Wendigo did go low a little bit, and land stays high, and then I don't know if land came down or he went up, but regardless, he got spun out. And at this version of Daytona, I feel like um, it feels like real life because these decisions you're making in the moment, like it seriously, like you have to be on your toes. If you make one wrong move, you're getting spun out.
yep,
And this is like that's the first time I felt like that racing in this league, honestly. Like you make one wrong decision and you're paying the price for it. Like these runs are so quick. Um it's crazy. Like you have to be on the top of your game or you're just gonna get spun.
yeah. Um, I actually got the race up on the stream actually.
Oh, there we go.
So, um, I think yeah, just rewinding, coming back to the line. This is the moment we were talking about coming off of four. That moment there, and then
And
yeah,
that's the moment that got us up there is us three were pushing, we got in front of them, we came down. I don't know if Wendigo I don't know what happened really. It was it was really close there. Um
very.
but anyways, now we're all single file and did land fall like all the way back from that? Is he
I think he
I
did.
think he's like yeah, he's
Yeah,
like an eight
he's
yeah,
back there.
he's a second behind.
Yeah. He fell a little ways back, but um, yeah, just a very interesting finish. Um, and then fast forward a little bit, 3 wide for second at the line. I honestly didn't even see that because um, my like I said, my vision was a little fucked up, but that was insane too because they easily could have just wrecked and had a free for all for second, but they kept it together. So
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Um, and Icy like just barely got second out of that. Um, but yeah,
and yeah, that was wild. Um, I mean, I guess we could kind of talk about the points now.
yeah,
I
we
don't know
can.
if there were any other moments in the race that we wanted to look at, or I don't know if he had that one wreck where someone was in the catch fence. I have not seen this wreck. I still haven't seen it, but somebody was
Um,
literally in.
I have not either, but if there is video, I would like to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it too.
I would like to see. Um, I have the points up on the screen.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, so Icy is your points leader now.
Has
He
he
he had a.
ever been in the points lead?
I don't think so.
Huh. Way to go, Icy.
I'm trying to see the final like finishing results. So Icy finished. He won stage one. He finished fourth in stage two, and then he finished second in the race. That that's definitely what you need to do to take the points lead. Very solid day from him. And Jack in P2, that's he finished fourth in stage one, second in stage two, and third in the race. When Digo third, he won stage two and finished fourth in the race. Um, Obviously you won the race. You didn't get any other stage points though.
Yeah. Well, second stage, I was kind of lucked out of that, but I won't get into that.
Yeah, I didn't get any stage points tonight either. Um,
But it's like
I don't know.
also at the same time, um, it's a super speedway and it's the first race. There's so many more opportunities for stage points, so it's not really a big deal if you didn't get any tonight.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's way too early. Like if I were Lego or Craigus or Rondo, I wouldn't even be that worried about being outside of the top eight.
One thing you do have
It's
to
such
fix on here though is the stage wins because somebody only has one stage win.
yeah, I know. Wendigo won that other stage. I changed it, but it is not updated in this picture. Um, I guess I'm kind of surprised that it's way too early to overreact, but I'm a little bit surprised that Craigus and Lego are outside of the top eight right now. Um, but I mean, this season it's going to be really interesting because everybody's competitive.
I
I
mean,
mean, even
it's just like
Jack.
how Joey's been out of the top 20 for however many weeks and he's been working his way back up.
Wendigo's still in.
Yeah.
Wendigo's still in the lead along with
Such a
Schlater
long
and
season,
Lehner.
too.
Both 2 and 3, but Aiden comes and shoots by to push Lehner as Wendigo will be leading. As here comes Jackson and Icy. And there's a huge wreck.
Wait, it's kind of cool, but I don't know. Are we done?
What in the world? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I know you guys can hear the audio. I was trying to see if I could hook it up
Oh
on the
my
stream,
goodness.
but I can't. That's why I was just like, okay. Yeah, I saw the clip though. Um, hmm.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching, you can go look in the general
Yeah,
server
that's
and
definitely
you can see the clip.
an interesting crash, but
Also, Land was going 232 miles an hour coming up
yeah,
to him. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I do want to point out with the
Yeah.
points. First through fifth is 3 points apart. Um, and sixth and seventh are tied, and then you're 4 points behind them. So it's like it's really, really tight. And I didn't expect it to be a big gap, but it's just like if there's drivers that are not going to show up, that gap is going to change a lot. So it'll be interesting to see.
Also, do we want to? I don't know if we talked about it, but should we like talk about the beginning of this race whenever we had 10 cars and then Rondo shows up um a little bit later on in the race?
I mean, we don't really have to. I mean, he was in the race for like 10 laps. So
Was it really only 10 laps?
probably not even, but that's what it seemed like. It wasn't long at all. Um, but like, I think for me, because just for time's sake of the episode, because we're already at 41 minutes, I would say that just if we're already going and there's already been an attempt to grab him as a driver, like we tried multiple times to ping him and to get him to race. Him having his notifications off is on him because he was in the duels yesterday. He knew what time we were racing today. There's no excuse, you know? Um, and that goes for anybody. I don't really care who you are. If you know what time we're racing and you're online and you're doing other stuff, um, and you say you're either going to be racing or it's like, you know, we expect you to be there, it just keep that constant communication or at least like update us if you're not planning on being there because 10 laps into a race you join that changes everything because um then we got to make accommodations to flip around for you and that's not fair to any of the drivers because it's just now you're kind of, let me say it in a nice way, now you're kind of getting into people's business laps down. Um, like I know Rondo was up there, like he was like 6 or 7 laps down. Why is he fighting for positions at the front? Like,
Yeah.
what is the point of that? I don't understand what the point of that was. Like he was literally was up there for no reason. And he was just causing. He was being a hazard. Um, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but it's like when you show up that late and you know that we're running a race already and you don't care and you're just up there running with everybody, it's like what's the point at that point? Literally just ride around until you get your laps back.
Yeah, and I mean, he would have got all those laps back if hypothetically he was allowed to race. Um, but I feel like the rules should be if you're not there whenever the green flag comes out, you cannot join the race. Like I feel like that is a very non-controversial rule. If you don't show up on time, you don't get to race. If you don't show up on time, you don't get any points. Like you shouldn't be able to show up 10 laps into a race and still get points. And I mean, that's just my opinion. Like, you don't see a NASCAR driver coming onto the track with 10 laps already in the race, and then they get points just for showing up. Like, no, that's not how this works.
Right.
If you aren't there when the green flag flies, you shouldn't get any points, and you shouldn't be allowed to race. You know when the race is. If you want to be active in the server, you can find out when the race is. Um, and if you don't show up, then that's on you. So like we shouldn't accommodate people because they showed up late. And
Yeah.
like he already got points, so I'm not talking about
He's
tonight.
he's lucky he got anything, because if
Yeah,
I was running the league, he wouldn't have gotten shit. Just saying.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like if you're gonna show up late, you shouldn't get points. That's my
Yeah.
opinion. You knew when the race was. You were here at the duels. I mean, we've been posting about it all week. You've known when the race was for months now. So I don't know.
And it's
Like
it's
I
it's more so of just like just being aware of, like, because I see the chat. I'm not trying to cook him or be rude or be insensitive about anything, but it's just like it's just about having common sense. Like, if you know you're late to something already, um, just own up to it, you know? But it's also like, at the same time, if you've been there all weekend and you see us pinging you, well, he didn't see us pinging him, but if like you're expecting the race to be the next day, you should be aware of the race starting sometime soon. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it ain't nobody else's fault but yours. And you just got to own up to it. And yeah, me personally, I would not have allowed him to race tonight at all. But yeah, and I don't know if it was you that brought it up or if it was Craigus or somebody else. But after we start the race, the server should be locked.
yeah,
Um,
I said that.
if anybody like lags out, or if anybody has to rejoin, then that's different. But if anybody that hasn't started the race wants to join, that shouldn't be allowed. Um, Obviously, if there's going to be like a cutoff or whatever, like of 10 cars or whatever, um, then work the kinks out to that. But um, just like keeping it at a maximum, and then keeping it locked at all times. I think it's ridiculous. Um, yeah, I don't have any other
Yeah,
thoughts, but I think that would be my only thing, is just to really put shit on lock, and keep it at that. Make a final call that we're starting the race, and that's it. Leave it at that, because that's unacceptable.
well,
And then he got
yeah,
points out of that. You know.
yeah. Like, and I also feel like we we should be announcing the times for races a lot sooner. Like, I feel like the time and day for Atlanta should be announced like tonight or tomorrow at the latest. That way, people have a full week. We can say, look, you've known when the race was for a week. Like last season, there were a lot of midweek announcements where we wouldn't find out when the race was until Wednesday or Friday. And it's like, we need, there should be an announcement tonight or tomorrow of when the Atlanta race is.
Well,
That way,
I
you
think.
tell people, like,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go
I'll,
ahead.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Well, I was just like that way, like people have a full week. Like if you tell me you didn't know when the race was, like, buddy, I posted that on Saturday last week. You've had a full week to know when it was, you know?
Yeah, I think like tomorrow or Monday is like a good day, but I also think
Yeah.
you have to let the previous race breathe a little bit. You kind of you can't move like so fast on moving to the next race. Like, that's not how NASCAR operates. For example, like, they let the race breathe on Sunday, and they don't post the entry list until Monday night for the next race. And they don't start talking about the next race until Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and stuff like that. Um, but I don't think like the times and stuff should be posted midweek anymore. I think they should be posted a lot earlier. Um, just so people can kind of plan out their schedule, and time wise, because the times are going to change with each race a little bit, I would assume. So people need to have time to work around that. And if they're given late notice, then that's no longer on them. That's on the person that plans that. So, um, yeah. But I think like anytime between like tomorrow and or Monday or Tuesday is like a good ample time. Like you should have ample time to figure out if
Yeah.
you can go or not. I think that's fine.
And also with having a truck series now, I mean that's another like it's not just the Cup series now. Like we have a whole nother series. Um so I don't
Bruh,
like
you
I feel like
disconnected again. This is some
so
bullshit.
obviously I'm assuming the truck series is going to be ran on Fridays, so um I mean definitely like Monday at the latest because the truck drivers are also going to need time to know when their race is. And I know there's been discussion about having some of those races on Saturdays. So we kind of just need to give everybody enough time to plan out their weekends and know what days um, things are going on and whatnot. Like you can't really tell people on Wednesday that there's a truck race on Friday
Yeah.
and expect them to be there because that's like 2 days. So I don't know how it's gonna work, but that's just one thing that I think we could do better at this season.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this thing up because we're closing in on an hour. So, do you want to rate the race and then um we'll call it a night?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of all that we have left to do.
All right. I'll go first. So, I kind of been thinking about it like the whole episode and just putting everything together and like into one. Um, and this is aside from me winning, just strictly looking at how the race was officiated, how the racing was, and like how the overall like atmosphere was like presented for the race this weekend. I think I would give it an 85%. Um, the race, I think, honestly was really good, aside from the lag. And I think, obviously, there was a lot of headaches and a lot of things that did not go our way tonight. But I think the racing was still pretty good. And just the overall atmosphere of the race and um, just, you know, I enjoyed it. I you know, beside all that other bullshit, I enjoyed it. Um, and yeah, I think it was more of a memorable race, not for everything that went wrong, but um, just just remembering it for all of the kind of what's the word, like those moments that make you twist your head, like we had a lot of weird moments tonight. Getting stuck in the catch fence, um, teammates getting into each other a lot. We had a lot of good pack racing, so there was a lot of stuff going on tonight that I really enjoyed. Um, but yeah, I would say I give it an 85%.
Yeah, and I will kind of talk about like the legacy of the RoMuscle 500. Um, I feel like with the Road Car 500, it kind of kicked off right away because obviously we had that last stop incident between you and Land, and it was kind of like holy shit, like this race is a big deal, and it just felt like a big event every season. This race didn't really feel like a big race to me last season, the Row Muscle 500, but this season, I really felt the hype for it. And there were a lot of moments in this particular race that I feel like really like put this race up in like the elite category um, for row car. Like it feels like a big event. it felt like a crown jewel to me. It felt like an event that everybody wanted to win, and it had a lot of moments that will carry on um, for the rest of this league's history. That I mean, this is going to be a race that people want to win every single season, no matter what happens. Like it's really started to cement a legacy for itself. In my opinion, I don't know if everybody felt that way, but I really feel like this race is a big deal, a lot more than I did last season. And obviously, the more we do this event, the more the legacy is just going to build more and more and more.
Yeah.
In terms of the racing, I thought tonight it was pretty good. Um, Other than the lag, you can't really I can't really take away from that because it's not really anybody's fault. I would probably give it like an 80%,
Okay.
just because I feel like it could have been a lot cleaner than it was. And I feel like we were constantly wrecking and doing pace laps, and the officiating wasn't the best at times. And there were just a few things that kind of, the whole event wasn't perfect, but I still do think that this was a very memorable race, and it's one of the best races in the history of this league, up to this point. Like I would put this in my top 3 of all-time races in RoMuscle. I might even put it in my top 2. Like I don't know a list off the top of my head, but like it's really up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would give it an 80%.
I think it's really hard at the super speedways especially, but just like at this track in general, it's really hard to like not crash. Um we got going like towards the end, which was good, but I wish that had started a little earlier and we had gotten going earlier. Maybe we could have, maybe the outcome at the end would have been a little different, but um I think, just I think this track is something special. This race is something special, and yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's definitely top 3, even top 2.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully it only gets better from here. Um, it was a really good start to the season, and I don't know, like I would even put this race above some of the road car 500s. Like I don't, this one's up there. Like even if we talk about the old league too, like this race is really up there for me. Um, I would probably put it at like number 2, because I think the first road car 500 was like that's like my all time great race.
Well, me and Land were the staples for that, so you're welcome.
Yeah, I know. Like that race, that's hard to beat. That one's hard to beat. But anyways, I guess, did you have anything to add, or
I'm just looking forward to Atlanta and seeing how things are gonna roll out. I'm not really sure what to expect. It'll be on old Atlanta, right? We won't be on new Atlanta.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it'll probably race like new Atlanta. So, I'm curious to see how we will run, maybe with a full field, minus one car or two. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to get back there nonetheless and see what, not only our team, but what teams can shine or have a better day next week, because it's kind of like a second super speedway, but in a different capacity. So it's gonna kind of be like re-racking them and doing it all again, just not as big of a race. But yeah, I'm excited nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Atlanta. I think we'll kind of see um who's for real and who's not a little bit more. Things just got so shuffled this week; it was kind of impossible to tell. So it'll be exciting um, to see what happens there. But
Yeah.
that's really all I have. S- Is that all that you wanted to add?
Yeah, that's all for me.
All right. Well, I guess that'll be it from us here at Daytona. Um, we will catch you all next time, and hopefully, you all have a good rest of your weekend.
Peace out.